Welcome to this lecture on major and minor elements of OOP. Now there are 4 major and 3 minor elements that make an object-oriented programming language special. At the end of this video, you should be able to list out 4 major and 3 minor elements of object-oriented programming, as well as describe each of them. In the early 90s, there are a lot of development over object-oriented programming. Now everybody wanted to do object-oriented programming because other languages such as C, BASIC, Fortran, which are procedure-oriented languages, had a lot of complexities involved. But then how do we start? There was so many development that was going on. Grady Booch, in his book Object-Oriented Analysis and Design with Applications, he categorically mentioned many features that actually triggered this grouping. Let's look at major elements. A model without any of these elements is not object-oriented. So if you try to take this and compare this with a programming language, and if this feature is missing, then it's not an object-oriented language. So they are basically abstraction, encapsulation, modularity, and hierarchy. Now there are 3 minor elements too. Now each one of them are useful, they add a lot of values, but they're not essential. So some of the programming languages may not have this. Now these are persistence, typing, and concurrency. Now let's look at each one of these in detail. Let's look at abstraction. Abstraction says it denotes essential characteristics of an object that distinguishes it from other kinds of object. So you know the difference between a car and a bike. Why? The features of a car are different than the features of a bike. Now it provides crisp, defined conceptual boundaries related to the perspective of the viewer. What do you mean by that? The same object can be looked in by 2 different people in 2 different ways. Encapsulation, on the other hand, works over abstraction, which means while abstraction groups a lot of features together, encapsulation separates them into 2 parts, something that can be accessed by outside world, something that cannot be. Now serves to separate contractual interface of an abstraction and its implementation, meaning that using the encapsulation, people would know what I can access from that class and what I cannot. Now it is also very popularly known as data hiding, but you should know that not all data necessarily to be hidden. The third major element is modularity. As you start developing applications, it grows bigger and bigger and bigger. We want to modularize that. We want to make it smaller, and the way you do it is divide that into smaller modules. Smaller the module, it's easier for maintenance and error handling. Now the property of a system that has been decomposed into a set of cohesive and loosely coupled modules. What do you mean by loosely coupled? Now if you think of a car is made up of a lot of smaller parts. A steering, I can replace another steering with, I can replace a wheel, I can replace an engine. They're all different modules. Now whether one module works with only a specific another module, then it's a tight coupling. But if one module works with another module interchangeably, then it's a loose coupling. So the next one in the list is hierarchy. Now a lot of classes have relationships, and hierarchy allows us to make a proper ranking or ordering of these. How one class is related with another one. Is it inheriting the features, or does it composes another object? So most important ones in this are single inheritance, where one class derives features from another one, and a class may inherit features from multiple of them. You may also have a relationship called composition. It is like one object contains another object. Now think of a computer. Computer has a processor. Now there is 2 types. One is composition and one is aggregation. We'll look into that in the later videos. Let's move on to the minor elements. To begin with, typing. Imagine I have 2 data types. Number 1 is a tiger and number 2 is a lion. Now if I can create a variable of tiger and assign an object of lion, would that be possible? The answer is no, because tiger is not a lion. But if I have an object of tiger or an object of lion, and I have a variable of animal, I can always say, hey, tiger is an animal, lion is an animal. So you can see that there is a typing involved. Now typing is the enforcement of a class of an object such that objects of different types may not be interchanged. Like I said, a lion and a tiger are not same, but I can always say tiger and lion are same as animals, right? So this is where we say at the most they may be interchanged only in restricted ways. Now this also brings up some concepts called early and late binding. Very importantly, polymorphism. A polymorphism is the ability of an object to behave differently at different states. Now these features are essential, and many of the object-oriented languages provide these, but they are not needed. The next in the line is concurrency. Now concurrency is the ability of an object to work with another object at the same time. May not be in a parallel way, but in a concurrent way. So one object is active, the other object is not active, and they exchange places and they work together. The last in the list of elements, persistence. Now, very useful because objects occupy memory, and memory we talk about primary memory. Always there is a possibility that you may lose the memory. So you want to shut down the computer, you want to take the data from the memory and save it. So is there a possibility of an object to save its state into secondary storage? And that's persistence. Now it's the property of an object through which the object can even exist even after the program or the application that created it stops to exist. So object's location moves from one place to another place. Now let's summarize what we have seen. Now the key points are there are 4 major elements and 3 minor elements. A model without any of these 4 major elements is not an object-oriented programming language. So each of the minor elements are useful, but they're not necessary.